And I like the Battery Passport, which is the flagship initiative of the Global Battery Alliance, among a few other projects that we work on, is because it is very tangible. It delivers impact. It's not just a conversation. It's actually something that consumers will be able to use to differentiate what went into the battery, into the electric vehicle that they will be purchasing. So it gives consumers choice. They can choose a battery that has a lower or a higher CO2 footprint. They can choose a battery that contains minerals that have been mined sustainably or not. And it's that kind of pressure that is going to really have an impact, because once you give people a choice, they will make choices and they will push. In addition to what we do as the industry, we push for certain standards. They will pull for those standards to be adopted very quickly. So the Battery Passport is essentially a digital twin of the physical battery that's in the car. Right? Sounds pretty simple. It's not, because you've got dozens of minerals in that product with very, very diverse sources of origin. So what we've tried to do is really to work towards something that gives a very tangible overview of the current batteries. We've got 3 pilots, 1 from Tesla, 2 from Audi. Funny enough, when you go around down in Davos here, some of the cars already have that sticker on it, so people can actually go now and scan the sticker. And I have a little sticker here to show you how it looks like. My ambition is that 10 years from now, every single electric vehicle has a sticker like that on the back. Right? And you can go and scan it. Let me see where that cobalt comes from. Where was it refined again? Interesting, right? Because it triggers the right discussions. And particularly if we do not have information on the provenance and the ESG compliance of those products, that raises the right questions and it puts pressure on the supply chain to be more sustainable. So in the Battery Passport, as you click on it, you can open it and open the website. It's publicly available. It gives you the technical specification, capacity, manufacturing history, material provenance, where the materials flow, how do they move, do they go through China, do they not go to China, go through different refiners, who is actually the manufacturer of the cell, of the precursor, and so on. And it compares that against what we've included is a greenhouse gas emissions rule book, which has been put together by a broad coalition of multi-stakeholders, which is very important. This is a multi-stakeholder initiative. This is not an industry initiative, which is very important for the acceptance of the standards that we have in this system. The Battery Passport will bring very new levels of transparency in the supply chain. From beginning to end. You mentioned circularity, recyclability. That's going to be an important element of that, because we will have to recycle 10, 11, 12 million tons of battery materials in the very near future. So the ultimate goal is really provide end user transparency. It's a quality seal. And again, these are the kind of things that can happen around a coffee table in Davos.
Amazing. And to the point about how it actually works, I mean, it sounds like we can actually all go see how it works when we walk out of the Congress Center right now. Just briefly, Benedikt, you mentioned these partnerships and developing the proof of concept with Tesla and Audi. What did that work actually look like? Can you just take us through some of that development process? Perhaps some of the challenges for the Global Battery Alliance, and also, I suspect, real challenges for the manufacturers as well, as they had to navigate some of these new data requirements, maybe dig down into their supply chains in ways that they hadn't before.
The most important challenge is that the energy storage supply chain is highly complex and it's highly globalized. I mean, a unit of a battery material may be produced in Africa, then would be shipped for refining to China, from refining to Korea, from Korea to Japan, from Japan to the US. So you would have a unit of that battery will be going around the world 2 or 3 times before it actually ends up in the vehicle. So it's very complicated, and you have a multitude of different products that go in. And of course, you have to be very clear on what kind of standards do you want to measure. Right? You cannot measure everything in the beginning. That's why we have piloted, that's why we focused on the most immediate ones, which is CSR, particularly human rights, which is a concern in some of the supply chains, and greenhouse gas emissions, because some products in a battery or some batteries have a significantly lower CO2 footprint than others. So the complexity and the globality of that has been one of the big challenges. And then, of course, agreeing on the rules. Because we don't want to water down the rules that are being applied to the supply chain. Quite the opposite. We want to raise the standards and to make sure that we raise the bar for the industry as a whole as we build out this supply chain to be a sustainable supply chain. It's the biggest build-up of a supply chain probably since the hydrocarbon revolution at the end of the 19th century. We're witnessing a transformation in an industry that's historic, and we have to make sure that's done in a sustainable fashion.